Today we're driving the 2025 Mazda CX-50 Hybrid. Now this is an interesting product from Mazda because it has the powertrain from a Toyota RAV4, but the rest of it is all Mazda CX-50. All-wheel drive is standard. It has a 2.5-liter hybrid powertrain from Toyota, so it makes 219 horsepower. It's got an eCVT. It tows only 1,500 pounds as opposed to 3,500 pounds, but I feel like if you're buying a crossover in this class, towing isn't probably your top priority. It's a very nice place to spend time. The interior is really well appointed. Really, there isn't that much different from the standard CX-50 here. You've got an EV button and a charge power meter over there to the left, but this is all just familiar Mazda CX-50. I've spent all week with this car. Let's talk about what it's been like to live with and drive. We'll give you guys a quick walk around here in this parking lot, and then we'll take it out for some driving impressions. Very cool. So starting this up, we'll save you guys from the annoying Mazda chime. There it is. That going off 15 times. Pricing on this starts at around $35,000. As tested, this is a little over 42 grand for the Premium Plus package. Not too bad value in my opinion. It's rated for 38 miles to the gallon combined. This week it's been pretty cold out, and that's when hybrid fuel economy usually suffers, so we've averaged about 30 miles to the gallon on that this week. Still, an improvement over the standard Mazda CX-50. This is painted in Soul Crystal Red Metallic, one of the best colors on the market these days. Mazda CX-50 is a little bit lower slung than the CX-5. Definitely prioritized more space here in this back section. The engine kicking on and off there. Compact spare tire. Rear seats fold down flat. Look at that. A lot of cargo space in the back of this. Takes regular fuel. Isn't as much headroom in here as you get in the Mazda CX-5, but ultimately I think it's a pretty nice cabin. You almost have higher seating arrangements in the back than in the front, so you can see over the front driver and passenger. Really attractive looking interior, nice materials. I mean, definitely kind of a class above in terms of interior craftsmanship. The only thing I'm not the biggest fan of is this King Ranch style stitching on the dashboard and the seats. It doesn't really feel like it goes with the rest of the vehicle from a design standpoint, but it's okay. Minor complaint with otherwise a very nice place to be for the money. We've got a panoramic sunroof, or this dual pane sunroof here. A couple USB ports in the back, rear climate vents, seat pocket for the passenger. ISOFIX points are easy to access. Ingress and egress is nice too. Let's take a look under the hood here. So like I mentioned, 38 miles to the gallon combined, 219 net combined horsepower. We have hood struts, look at that. Familiar looking powertrain here, lifted from the RAV4, electronically controlled CVT and all-wheel drive. It's worked well this week in the snow. A little bit gruff and rough under heavier throttle applications, but for the most part, if you're driving this car around normally, it's got good torque. You don't really see that much of a sacrifice with acceleration and power. And it sounds a bit different than the Toyota products that this engine is shared with. So it's got that going for it. No heated steering wheel, but everything else in this Mazda is pretty nice. We get a Bose sound system, heated and ventilated seats, auto climate control. Mazda's infotainment system that, once you live with it, is really nice to use. Got this scroll knob here. BMW is probably going to be doing away with their iDrive controller, so this will be the next best thing after that. You get quick access buttons for your navigation, your music, and then lots of customization in the settings menu for driving assistance settings, safety settings, vehicle and connectivity settings. Love to see it. Volume track controls down here or up here. Nice deep center console. Wireless charging is right here. More storage right there. Only thing that isn't ideal are these cup holders / water bottle holders. You are kind of limited with their height based on this kind of climate control panel right here. Reverse camera is nice and high res and very wide angle. I really appreciate a wide angle reverse camera sometimes just because it kind of gives you that 180-degree view behind you. If there's any pedestrians coming and you've got a car blocking you, you can see around them, which is great. You've got your charge power meter over here to the left. I appreciate that that is a physical gauge. It's nice to see actual analog gauges in a modern car. Yes, you've got this digital center display here that you can switch up between a couple different screens. You can see we've averaged 28 miles a gallon here in the last day or two. You've got a digital speedometer with your driving assistance settings, and then just the standard speedo layout, which I kind of prefer. 2-seat memory settings, traction control button, pop the fuel filler cap, auto up-down windows on all 4 corners. Good visibility all around, no issues there, no complaints. Place to put your sunglasses, mirror, got some sun covers right there. Nice visors, grab handles. I mean, you know, even lots of soft touch materials here. Place to rest your arm, that's nice and soft. This is nice and soft. Driving position is comfortable. The Bose sound system is great. It bumps in this Mazda CX-50. Overall, there's a lot to like here. And with the addition of better fuel economy, this might be a pretty compelling purchase for many CX-50 buyers. They've also gone and fixed the steering in this car. When it first came out, it was honestly just too heavy. And last year, I believe they addressed that. So this feels just about perfect. We also have a little EV indicator here to the left and an EV mode button down there. You'll notice when that kind of lights up, the car is going to be in EV mode. Really smooth operation setting off with this eCVT. You can hear just kind of a faint growl from that 2.5-liter hybrid powertrain. We get 3 drive modes in this. Trail, which is the off-road drive mode, Power, and Normal. To be honest, I haven't really touched anything besides Normal this week in this car. Turning radius here is excellent. Watch this. Really tight turning radius. And steering returns to center very quickly. Good ground clearance. Have not tested the off-road capability in this CX-50 versus a standard CX-50 with the mechanical all-wheel drive system. I assume this suffers slightly, but with the trail-tuned traction control system at night, it still might not be too bad. Brake pedal feels very normal. Really nice tuning here from Mazda. Considering this is a hybrid, we'll set off here in EV mode. We won't even press the button, doesn't do anything. If you keep your power under this first notch, you can usually accelerate in EV mode fully without the engine kicking on. And under speeds of 22 miles an hour, you can kind of hear this faint, it almost sounds like brake pad on rotor disc. But it's just the car making noise to alert pedestrians that it's a vehicle. Different from the Toyota hybrid sound, which is kind of a faint hum. The transition from EV to internal combustion engine is seamless. And this engine is pretty responsive. Let's get on the highway, see what pulling power is up to speed. The suspension is on the stiffer side here with this Mazda CX-50. I feel like they could soften this a little bit and still not sacrifice that much in terms of handling. We do not have a lot of grip on the road surfaces today. We'll go into power mode just for whatever it's worth. No issues getting up to speed on the highway. Adaptive cruise control works well enough. Honestly, it's really no different from any of the other adaptive Mazda systems. It's a little bit more on the conservative side, but it gets you where you need to go without too much drama or fuss. You can skip 5-mile-an-hour increments by holding the set plus and minus buttons. And I really like this display, the speedometer display. It'll show you where your speedometer is with this kind of alternate needle. And then if you're speeding or going over the speed limit, it'll show that in red, which is very clever. Braking pretty smoothly there as we're coming down from speed. This adaptive cruise control system can be a little bit jerky sometimes. I wouldn't mind if Mazda smoothed it out slightly. Overall, as a hybrid, this drives great. I think Toyota builds and designs and develops some of the best hybrids on the market, and Mazda employing that powertrain here was a really smart decision. I was hoping it would be a little bit more efficient, but I think if you're driving this in warmer temperatures, you're going to see closer to that EPA rated 38 miles to the gallon. I believe Car and Driver did a fuel economy test on this, and it averaged only 34 mpg. So some of that could be down to the larger wheels and tires here too. Good throttle response there. And again, sketchy conditions today, so not going to be pushing it around corners too much. I do not trust these tires in the cold. Overall though, we found the Mazda CX-50 to be a fun car to drive, handles well. Reasonably quiet at highway speeds too. Got a little bit of wind today. There's a Mazda CX-5 to compare. CX-50 is definitely a better looking car, in my opinion. But the Mazda CX-5 is no slouch on its own. It's a really practical proposition, slightly different packaging. It's always been such a solid option. Very recommendable. Alright, a little bit more grip here on this banked corner. Steering feel is excellent in this car. For a crossover, this has to have one of the best steering racks in the business. I'm so glad they took a little bit of weight out, because I think it was just too cumbersome for the average driver. This 2.5 liter is reasonably quiet around town, not droney. Kind of like the throatiness that Mazda has tuned in here. It sounds good. The suspension does get busy on bumpier roads. That initial impact, that initial ride is just a bit stiffer than I would like. It never really hits you with a super large bump or impact that kind of jolts you or shocks you in the cabin, but a lot of little tiny bumps tend to add up and make this a bit firmer of a ride than I would prefer in a car like this. NVH is pretty good over bumps. Not a lot of cabin intrusion. Honestly, it feels pretty good over a bumpy road section here on our test route. We can test out this all-wheel drive system here. Gonna be pretty traction limited if I'm being honest, but go into trail mode here and see if we can find something to climb up. Maybe this is going to be okay. Stability control seems to be doing a pretty good job. Can we turn traction off in trail mode? Good power from a dig here. That's nice to see. Yeah, this isn't going to be a rally car. Mazda kind of has a soft rule that you can't disable everything in their SUVs. Yeah, it looks like that's still the case here with the CX-50 hybrid. A little bit of rotation there on throttle. Not bad. All right, well, honestly, without proper conditions and a proper test, we won't really be able to learn much today. ABS there, coming down this hill. These tires actually do reasonably well in the snow. Definitely driven on worse OEM tires, but I think if you live in the snow belt, you'll probably want something a little bit more winter-oriented. Actually, let's go this way. All right, so overall, high marks for the Mazda CX-50. It drives great. There really isn't a whole lot that I don't like about this car. The only thing I can really think of that stands out to me is just the annoying seatbelt chime. It's absolutely infuriating. So the way around that, the trick, is just put your seatbelt on before you start up the vehicle and you're good to go. You're covered. See here, we're speeding a little bit, so we've got a bit of a red tick there on the speedometer. Very clever design from Mazda. The CX-50 has felt pretty good this week in terms of shakes and rattles. We've had a few before that have had some issues, like with the sunroof and the roof rack. It's been pretty cold out this week too, and that's usually when rattles rear their ugly head the most. But honestly, this has been pretty rattle-free, so maybe they've done some work to tighten up the Mazda CX-50 a little bit down in Alabama. I've always really liked the versatility of this car. It's got just enough off-road capability and ground clearance to get you to that campsite, but It still looks good. It handles well. Sees virtually no compromises for that capability on the road. And it's sleek. It's well designed. Good amenities, and it's reasonably priced. I mean, there's a whole lot to like here with the Mazda CX-50, and I think the hybrid definitely adds a compelling powertrain to the mix. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. That'll be my thoughts on the Mazda CX-50 hybrid.